Next, we are going to focus on converting between English units and metric units, or vice versa. This table represents some common time, length, mass, and volume measurements between the metric system and the English system. You do not need to memorize any of these unit conversions. You will be given a table like this on a quiz or exam. I suggest keeping the handout of the common English and metric unit conversions out by your side while we work on these practice problems. How many centimeters are in 72 inches? So looking at your chart under length, we can see that there is a unit conversion between inches and centimeters, and every 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters exactly. We can use this in a dimensional analysis setup in order to convert from inches to centimeters. So we're going to start with what we're given, 72.0 inches, and we want to use our conversion as a fraction. Inches are going to go in the denominator, centimeters are just going to go in the numerator, and we know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. We can see that our units of inches is going to cancel. We'll be left in units of centimeters. When we multiply, we get 182.8 centimeters. And if we were looking at significant figures, the only thing we would look at to figure out how many sig figs there are in this problem is how many are in the original measurement, which 72.0 has 3 sig figs. So that means we can actually only keep 3 sig figs in our final answer. So we would have 183 centimeters as our final answer. We don't look at the 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters as terms of sig figs because this is an exact definition. Therefore, it's assumed to have an infinite number of significant figures. Let's try the second one. How many pounds is 653 grams? So we want to go from grams into pounds. If we look at our common unit conversions, we can see that 1 pound is equal to 454 grams. So we're going to start with what we were given in the problem, 653 grams. We're going to multiply by our unit conversion. Grams is going to go in the denominator, pounds is going to go in the numerator. 1 pound is 454 grams. Grams is going to cancel, and we're going to be left in units of pounds for our final answer. And when we divide by 454, we get 1.44 pounds. In this next example, let's combine what we've learned about English to metric conversions and using our metric unit prefixes. Life-threatening conditions can develop when a mountain climber climbs rapidly to heights greater than 2.5 times 10 to the third meters. What is this distance expressed in feet? So we don't have a common unit conversion directly that takes us from meters to feet. But we did recently use a unit conversion that said that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. So that's our link between the English system and the metric system. We're going to have to first convert meters into centimeters, centimeters into inches, and then finally inches into feet. So if we start with what we are given, 2.5 times 10 to the third meters, we can think about our unit prefixes. We're going from meters to centimeters. The larger unit is the meter, so we'll call that 1. And then there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. If we were to stop here, our units would cancel of meters and we'd be left in centimeters. But we're going to keep going. Next, we're going to use our link between the metric system and the English system. We want centimeters to go in the denominator so it cancels, and inches in the numerator. 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. Here our units of centimeters will cancel, and right now we'd be in inches. Lastly, we're trying to work our way towards feet, so we're going to put inches in the denominator, feet in the numerator, and there's going to be 1 foot for every 12 inches. Lastly, the units of inches will cancel, and we're going to have our final answer in units of feet. And we should get 8.2 times 10 to the third feet as our final answer. When you're done setting up your different unit conversions, always check that the units in the numerator cancel with those in the denominator for each case, and then what you're left with in the upper right corner is the units that your answer will be in. The human stomach can expand to hold 4.2 quarts of food. A pistachio nut has a volume of about 0.9 milliliters. Calculate the maximum number of pistachio nuts that can be eaten in one sitting. So here we're trying to go from quarts to the number of nuts that someone could eat in one sitting based upon the volume of the stomach. We have under our common volume unit conversions, 1 quart is equal to 946.4 milliliters. But there's also another conversion that's given to us directly in the problem, and that is 1 nut has a volume of about 0.9 milliliters. So sometimes when you're reading the word problem, you actually have to extract information to write a unit conversion from the information given to you. So the volume of about 0.9 milliliters right there. So now we're going to start with our 4.2 quarts. And we're going to convert quarts into milliliters. So quarts goes in the denominator, milliliters goes in the numerator. 1 quart is 946.4 milliliters. And then lastly, milliliters into number of pistachio nuts. 1 nut occupies about 0.9 milliliters of volume. So we can see, if we check our cancellations, quarts cancels, milliliters cancel, and we'll be left in number of nuts, which we should get about 4,400 pistachio nuts that can be eaten in one sitting. Sometimes we need to convert 2 units at once. So for example, if a car is traveling at 95 kilometers per hour, what is the speed in meters per second? So we're starting with units of kilometers per hour, and we want to convert them into units of meters per second. So notice the top changed units and the bottom changed units. So we're going to start with what we're given, which is 95 kilometers per hour. And always write the number with the top unit. So 95 goes with the units of kilometers, not with the hours. And then we can choose, do we want to convert the numerator first or the denominator first? So if we start with the numerator and we want to convert kilometers into meters, we can do that directly. Kilometers, the larger unit, so 1 kilometer will be 1,000 meters. Our units of kilometers will cancel. If we were to stop now, our units would be in meters per hour. But we also want to convert the denominator. Our hours we're going to convert into seconds. So if we put hours in the numerator, so it cancels, and seconds in the denominator, we can say that 1 hour is 3,600 seconds. Now our units of hours will cancel on the top and the bottom, and we'll be left with meters over seconds, which is what we were trying to work towards. And our final answer should be 26.4 meters per second. And if we were looking at significant figures, we could only keep 2, so it would be 26 meters per second. Let's try another one. If a space shuttle can travel at 1,700 miles per hour, how many meters per second does it travel? So we're starting with miles over hours, and we're converting to meters over seconds. If we look at our common English and metric unit conversions, there's going to be a conversion that links us between the English system and the metric system for length. 1 mile is equal to 1.609 kilometers. So we're going to start with our units and number from the problem, 1,700 miles per hour. And we can choose to work on the top or the bottom first. Let's try working with the bottom first this time. If we want to convert hours into seconds, we're going to put hours in the numerator and seconds in the denominator. 1 hour is 3,600 seconds. So here, our units of hours will cancel and we'll be left in units of seconds. Now let's work with our numerator, our miles. Miles is going to have to go on the bottom. Kilometers is going to go on the top. 1 mile is 1.609 kilometers. Our units of miles will cancel, and right now if we were to calculate, we would be in units of kilometers per second. But we want to go to meters, so we have one more conversion we're going to have to use. Kilometers in the denominator, meters in the numerator, and 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. So finally, units of kilometers will cancel, and we'll be left in meters over seconds, which is what we were working towards. And our final answer should be 7.6 times 10 to the third meters per second. Let's try one more example of converting 2 units. A bullet is fired at a speed of 2,435 feet per second. What is this speed in kilometers per hour? So we're starting with feet per second, and we're going to kilometers per hour. We're going to need a few unit conversions in order to do this. So we have 2,435 feet over seconds. Let's start with our denominator this time. Let's convert seconds into hours. We want our seconds to cancel, so we're going to put seconds in the numerator of our next unit conversion over hours. 1 hour is equal to 3,600 seconds. So we can see that our units of seconds will cancel. Next, we have a few options of what we could do to convert feet into kilometers. We don't have a direct unit conversion between feet and kilometers on our common English and metric unit chart, but we could take our feet and convert them into miles, and then we could convert our miles into kilometers because we do have a link between those two things. So looking at our unit conversion chart, feet is going to have to go in the denominator, miles will go in the numerator, and there is 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So far, our feet will cancel, and we're in units of miles per hour. Next, we want to convert miles into kilometers. Miles will have to go in the denominator, kilometers in the numerator, and 1 mile is equal to 1.609 kilometers. Miles will cancel, and we'll be left with kilometers per hour when we calculate. We can keep 4 sig figs in our answer. So we should get 2,671 kilometers per hour as our final answer. The next thing we're going to learn is how to convert units that have exponents associated with them. So if something is squared, like an area, or if something is cubed, like a volume. So for example, if we want to convert 8.3 inches squared into millimeters squared, we're going to have to use some of the unit conversions we've seen before, but we're going to have to also take into account that our units are now squared. So if we start with our 8.3 inches squared, that's what we were given in the problem, we could take inches into centimeters. That'll be our link between the English system and the metric system. And from our common English and metric unit chart, we know that 1 inch is exactly 2.54 centimeters. But if we were just to use this unit conversion as is, our inches wouldn't all cancel because one of our inches is squared that we started with, and we just wrote in an inch to the first power. So we need to square our units, but when we square our units, we also have to square the numbers associated with those units. So 2.54 squared centimeters squared is equal to 1 squared inch squared. Now when our units go to cancel, we can cancel inches squared on the top and the bottom. We would now be in centimeters squared. We want to convert to millimeters squared. So we're going to have to put centimeters in the denominator, meters in the numerator. And what's our unit conversion here? There is 100 centimeters in 1 meter. But we have to square our units and square the numbers associated with them. Centimeters squared, square the 100. Meters squared, square the 1. Now our units of centimeters squared could cancel and we'll be in units of meters squared. And one last unit conversion, meters to millimeters. Meters the larger unit, so that's what we'll call 1. And there is 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. The last thing we have to remember to do is square our units and square the numbers from the conversion. So 1,000 squared millimeters squared is equal to 1 squared meter squared. And we can see that our units of meters squared are on the top and bottom, and those will cancel. And our final units for this problem are in the upper right corner, which are millimeters squared. And that's what we were trying to work towards. So our final answer is going to be, with two significant figures, 5.4 times 10 to the third millimeters squared. Make sure you include the units with your answer. Let's try another example of converting units that are squared. So we're starting with 2.4 yards and converting it into meters squared. So 2.4 yards squared. Before we think about what we're going to use, we know yards are going to have to go in the denominator, so it cancels. And we can convert yards into feet. There is 3 feet for every 1 yard. We have to make sure that we square the units and square the numbers. We can convert feet into inches. So feet go in the denominator, inches in the numerator. 1 foot is 12 inches. And we want everything to cancel, so we square the feet, square the 1, square the inches, square 12. We can convert inches into the metric system, inches to centimeters. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. We want to square everything. We can convert centimeters into meters. There's going to be centimeters on the bottom meters on the top. 100 centimeters is 1 meter. And we have to square everything. So if we go back and check, yard squares cancel, feet squared cancel, inches squared cancel, centimeters squared cancel, and meters squared is what we're left with. And when we plug this in to the calculator, we don't have to square the 2.4 that we're starting with. That number is already an area. It's already squared. So we only have to square those unit conversions that we changed. Our final answer here should be 2.0 meters squared with two significant figures. Next, we're going to convert 9.1 cubic feet into units of liters. So both of those represent units of volume. Whenever you see something cubed, you want to think of a volume. And a unit conversion that's going to be used a lot in this class is 1 milliliter is equal to 1 cubic centimeter. So usually when we're expressing the volume of solids, cubic centimeters is used. And when we're expressing the volume of liquids, milliliters is used. So we're going to start with 9.1 feet cubed this time. And we can convert feet into inches. 1 foot is 12 inches, but we have to remember, now we're not squaring, we're cubing. So we have to cube the units and cube the numbers. Next, we could convert inches into centimeters. So inches will go in the denominator, centimeters in the numerator. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. We want to cube everything. We can convert centimeters cubed into milliliters directly using that unit conversion that we just talked about on the top. So since I'm using a unit conversion that is centimeters cubed to milliliters, I'm not going to actually have to cube the numbers associated with it or the units this time. So now we're in units of milliliters and we're trying to go to liters. So milliliters will be on the bottom, liters on the top, and now we're just going from a prefixed unit to a base unit. 1 liter is bigger, and there will be 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. If we check to see everything canceling, cubic feet cancel, inches cubed cancel, centimeters cubed cancel, milliliters cancel, and liters is what we're left with. And our final answer with two significant figures should be 260 liters.